Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told how to voice the radio. So today, we need to have a little bit of a chat about Umbreon. You see, the other day, I told you about this Umbreon. The problem with this Umbreon is, well, it was only out in Switzerland, which was a little bit awkward, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It was a little bit awkward. It was only released in Switzerland, which was weird. Although I, at this stage, need to give a gigantic shout-out to cardcollectors.ch, who actually sent me one of these Umbreon, because I wasn't able to get one over here because they were only out in Switzerland, and they had a couple spare and they sent them over to me, and that was so sweet and lovely of them. So yeah, just massive shout out to them for being awesome people, hooking me up of an Umbreon. I am beyond grateful. That was super sweet of them, and that was amazing. To be fair, you guys who watch these videos, just way too nice to me most of the time. That genuinely, the kindness that the community as a whole show to me on an almost daily basis is just absolutely absurd. Hopefully these videos are good enough to justify it. But this Umbreon was very, very cool, but it was only released in Switzerland, and as I've said, that was a little bit of a problem, because there are some Pokemon fans, obviously, that live in Switzerland. Cool. And, of course, there were people like me who got very, very lucky, who had lovely people in Switzerland being very nice to them, which was awesome. And then there were a lot of Pokemon fans going, I'd like that card. And the card was just unavailable to them. Now, it's very, very similar to the GameStop and EB Games promo. Shout out to the lovely Primal Lugia at Poker Guardian for this image. And you can see that we got the EB Games stamp, and we got the GameStop stamp. The GameStop stamp, as I've said many times, the worst stamp used in the Pokemon trading card game. Not even really close. The EB Games stamp is not a huge amount better, but the actual Obsidian Flame stamp, now we're talking. This is awesome. Lovely card, beautiful card, and it did create some problems, because this is what I showed you last time. People were paying way too much. There was a listing for £125, which seemed ridiculous until you looked at the solds, which were £140, £85, and the bargain of £74. This was a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous price. This was not good. We didn't like it. This made us sad. I don't like things like this. I don't like it when we have these really nice cards that are really cool promos that become unavailable for basically the vast majority of people, and then the scalpers get involved and they get really expensive. I don't like it. It makes me really genuinely sad. And yeah, it's exactly the same as the Obsidian Flames Umbreon. It is just that card with the stamp. And yeah, there are promos, as I've shown you, stamped with EB Games and GameStop stamps. That's not the point. I want everyone to have access to the promo. Well, good news. You can probably see where I'm going with this at this stage. You probably saw it coming. It's being spotted elsewhere. It looks like this Umbreon is being made more available, and this is clearly a wonderful, wonderful thing. The lovely, it's actually Primal Lugia again, to be honest with you, has shared this image. The Umbreon has shown up at Toy Champ in the Netherlands, which is awesome. And this is actually kind of interesting because this is another English language version of it, just like the Swiss one was. Of course, in territories like France and Germany, they have their home languages featured on promos a lot. I showed you the Charizard just yesterday, I believe, which had, obviously it was a Jumbo Charizard, again with the Obsidian Flame stamp, as it turns out, that was in French. It was a Dracofeu. No, I'm pronouncing that terribly, I can only apologise, because that was a promo given away in France. France has French language cards. The idea of releasing an English promo in France doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. So, they are out there. And look, what can we say about this in terms of it being made available everywhere? I've heard rumblings. Now, it's really awkward when I'm coming on and bringing news videos when I've heard rumblings. I can tell you that they have made their way out in the Netherlands. And I've just shown you a picture of them making their way out in the Netherlands. That is real, that is legit, that is awesome. I've told you that they have made their way out in Switzerland, and I've proven it, and also literally been sent the card from Switzerland. Okay? So, it's out there in those two territories. I have heard rumblings, which I cannot prove, and I'm not stating as fact, to be 100% clear, that it may well and should be coming out in other countries as well. For now, we wait and see. I would love to see it come around in more countries. That would make me very happy. And I do believe it's coming to other places. I believe it's coming to the US. I believe it's coming to Canada and other territories in Europe. And I can't tell you with certainty, and I can't promise, and I can't guarantee, but I do think that it is happening. So then we get to the question of, well, all right then, what's that done to the graph? Or more accurately, what's that done to the price of the Obsidian Flame stamped promo? And the answer is, it's still way too high for my liking. Now, there is a listing over on eBay for, well, 60 quid, 70 with postage. There's another one right there for like 105, including postage, which, look, it is less than what I showed you last time. It is lower than I showed you last time. For comparison, I've left an EB Games one there from Australia, which is significantly cheaper, which is lovely. Haven't actually picked up the EB Games or GameStop one. Maybe that's something I should start prioritizing. That's a question for after the video. The point is, it is significantly more expensive than them because it's come out in fewer places. It seems harder to find. But of course, what we really need to look at here is the solds. And it's a lot better. I'm not saying great. I'm saying better. There was a buy it now that sold for, well, it was about 70 quid, including postage, which admittedly is still not ideal, but it is a little bit better than we saw before. But there were actually a couple that sold significantly cheaper. There was, okay, I've got one on the screen here that sold for almost a ton, but I've got another one that was bid and sold for less than 40 quid, which is still way too much for this promo, incidentally. But, you know what? That's still significantly cheaper. And there are some others, I believe, by the same people that are actually being listed on eBay right now with significantly cheaper prices. There is one that is being bid at the moment, and as it stands, it's selling for 10 quid with a day and a half left. And it's clearly, you can tell by the advert, the same people where it sold for $21.50 plus postage. It is getting a little bit cheaper. And here's the thing, right? I do believe that it's coming out in other places. Now, as I've said, and I cannot be clearer about this, I know it's come out in Switzerland, and I know it's come out in the Netherlands. Those are the two I've told you, and I've told you they're there, and I've shown you proof, and it's official, and it's real, all right? Other countries, I can't. I cannot tell you one way or the other with absolute certainty. But it does look like it. And it seems like it's coming out in other places. And if and when it does, it is going to be so much cheaper. And that, I think, is what we're holding out for. That, I think, is what we need to sit and cross our fingers is going to happen. That we get to a few weeks, however long it takes down the line, and all of a sudden it's showing up in a whole bunch of other territories, and all of a sudden the price is absolutely crashing. We are 2 countries down, and that is wonderful. I hope there's going to be more. I think there is. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, the price is coming down on this. But as I've shown you, it's still a very expensive card. It's still far more expensive than I think it should be. And hopefully, over time, more of these come out, price goes down, jobs are good. It is weird that this came out in Switzerland and nowhere else. And then weeks later, it turned up in the Netherlands. And we're still waiting to see if it turns up anywhere else. Like, the whole thing is weird. We've seen these stamped promos all over the place. This generally doesn't happen. It is usually a very different scenario. This is apparently, for the time being, the exception. But I tell you what, I think things are changing, and that's wonderful. For now, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know if you've picked it up. I want to know if you're going to pick it up when it comes to other territories, assuming it does. I want to know anything you want to tell me, so let me know in the comment section. Good us. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Dark1313, who's been a supporter of us for a while now and is a very lovely person, so shout out to them for both the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.